Hello and welcome. Tonight, Kogi state government alleges assassination attempt on Governor Yahya Bello while on his way to Abuja for an official engagement. As the Supreme Court begins hearing the appeals of the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party and Allied People's Movement on Monday, Channels Television takes a cursory look at some of the issues of these appeals. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives in the United States, where he will be delivering the keynote address at the African Development Bank's World Food Prize, facilitated Norman E. Borlaug International Dialogue. And Iran's Foreign Affairs Minister warns Israel and the United States that the Middle East may spiral out of control if Israel does not immediately stop its military action. The Kogi state government says that there has been an assassination attempt on Governor Yahya Bello. In a statement by the State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo, it says the governor's convoy was attacked while on its way to Abuja from the state capital, Lokoja. According to him, the incident occurred in the afternoon when the attackers, who were dressed in military uniforms, waylaid the governor's convoy and started shooting sporadically at his vehicle and other vehicles in that convoy. He says it took the swift intervention of security personnel attached to the governor to foil the plans of the unknown people. The commissioner goes on to say that the attacks, which occurred at 3 different points of the FCT, have been properly documented at security offices in the state and the national level for prompt and thorough investigations. The statement reads in part, "We're not oblivious of the fact that certain elements are bent on painting Kogi unsafe ahead of the governorship poll slated for November the 11th, 2023. As an administration, we will spare nothing to ensure our citizens are not subjected to security threats by desperate politicians sponsoring violence and terrorism." The commissioner, however, asked citizens of the state to remain vigilant and report suspicious movements in their domain to relevant security agencies. But before the Kogi state government raised that alarm, the state governor, Yahya Bello, had assured the people of the state that the 2023 governorship election will be conducted under a peaceful atmosphere, devoid of any rancor. But the governor gave this assurance when he paid a visit to the traditional ruler of Igala, Dr. Matthew Opaluwa Oguche, in Ida local government area of the state. The governor was at the monarch's palace to present the party's candidate for the governorship election in the state, Usman Ododo.
The premises of the Ata of Igala in Ida was filled with APC loyalists and residents of Ida, there to welcome Mr. Yahya Bello, who was accompanied by the APC governorship candidate Usman Ododo and his deputy. The Minister of Steel, Shuaibu Audu, APC state chairman, top government functionaries, among others. Their mission to the palace is to officially present the APC candidate to the traditional ruler and also get his blessings. The governor, Mr. Yahya Bello, tells the traditional ruler and the people of the plans to key into the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu for the development of the state. He solicits the prayer and support of the royal father for the victory of the APC candidate Usman Ododo in the November governorship election.
I came to present the son, the man that is going to take over from me by the grace of God. We are in a campaign tour to Igala land, and we call it East Zonal Rally. Definitely, everybody knows my respect and how I revere the traditional institution, especially the Ata Igala.
After the traditional protocol, the royal father speaks. He commends Governor Yahya Bello and the APC candidate for the visit and urges all political parties to execute issue-based campaigns.
Don't be untouchable. If you have any bad mind, just reserve it. Just interfere to I call all sons and daughters of Igala to please don't try about is what he's doing.
The Ata of Igala then pronounced his blessings on Governor Yahaya Bello and the governorship candidate Usman Ododo. The APC delegation believes the pronouncement of the Ata will ensure peaceful elections and also be a boost to the victory of their candidate at the November 11th governorship election.
Meanwhile, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Senator Dino Melaye, is assuring residents of the state of his commitment to restore local government administration in the state. Senator Melaye made the pledge while addressing his supporters in Ayetoro Gbede Town Hall in Ijumo local government area of the state.
The campaign train of the governorship candidates of the People's Democratic Party is in Kaba. The first stop is the Sacred Heart Catholic Church, where the candidate is attending the burial ceremony of one of his supporters, Madame Suzanne Tulufashe. On the sidelines of the ceremony, Mr. Dino Melaye uses the opportunity to assure the people that better times are coming if he wins the election.
I have a dream that as from January, when you enter the office of the governor of Kogi State, inside the office of the wall, there will be the crucifix of Jesus Christ hanging somewhere in the name of Jesus.
The PDP candidates then proceed to Araromigbede Town Hall for a meeting with stakeholders in the state. First, the Olu of Araromigbede Kingdom bestows on him a traditional title, the Bayero of Araromigbede. The candidate affirms his commitment to make the state better.
If I am going to be governor, and self-aggrandizement will be my watchword, corruption is what I'm going there to do. May the Almighty God not take me there. But if I am going to go there, and I will be a voice for the voiceless, and I will make the people of Kogi State smile, and I will restore local government administration back to the people.
The campaign train then proceeds to Ayetoro Gbede, where the stakeholders pledge to work for the party's victory.
Power has been the Kogi East and Kogi Central, and as it is now, it is the turn of Kogi West to produce the governor. And he has not left the party, and he stands solidly with Senator Dino Melaye, and is enjoining all local people not to throw this opportunity of producing a governor for Kogi West away.
We have no choice but to try and make sure we pay Adibo Ayomola Dino Melaye as the next governor of Kogi.
The candidate rules out his plans for the state on local government administration and civil servants and the importance of structures to the party.
Party needs structure.
Every party without structure does not win. That is why the Labour Party lost. The two parties in the contest is APC and PDP. APC is darkness, while PDP is light. Vote PDP.
The PDP candidate hopes to take his campaign to all the local government areas in the states.
And staying with the Kogi election, candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Leke Abejide, is promising to banish hunger in the state if elected as the next governor. He made the promise during his campaigns in Igalamela and Ofu local government areas of the state. Mr. Abejide says the increasing level of hunger in the state will be tackled headlong in order to ensure the sufferings of the electorates is reduced to the barest minimum.
It's few weeks to the November 11, 2023 governorship election in Kogi State, and the candidate of the African Democratic Congress is in Igalamela local government area with his rescue mission message. The party is vowing to improve the lot of the people.
The party you have now in government, they are the one that is giving you hunger. No be so? We have come with a message to give you food on your table.
In the area of education, this government, following the antecedent of Leke Abejide, will ensure that WAEC fees that parents pay for their children will be paid by his government.
In Ofu local government area, the campaign train received some decampees.
African Democratic Congress, that is where the people who want to progress live in. That is your place to progress.
We thank all the campees from APC, PDP, ABGA, Labour Party. It is obvious. This is no photo trick. They are all here. And I think it's because they've seen what ADC stands for. ADC stands for unity. ADC stands for progress. ADC stands for no more hunger. ADC stands for better education. ADC stands for good health. And ADC stands for good infrastructure.
The leader of the decampees states their reason for aligning with African Democratic Congress.
The reason why I decamp is that they are not carrying us along. We, the youths, the women in of local government. So that is why I'm hereby to declare myself, me and my entire member of PDP.
The ADC campaign train continues its mobilization and sensitization to all the local government areas with the aim of occupying the Lord Lugard House come November 11, 2023.
Let's head to Imo State now, which is also bracing up for the 11th of November governorship election, where the state governor and the APC governorship candidate, Senator Hope Uzodinma, says only leaders who can translate vision to reality and tested track records should be trusted with the people's mandate. The governor was speaking at a political summit organized by Olu Zone Women, which held at Nkwere local government area of Imo State. The governor is optimistic that his track record of competence, quality service and delivery of good governance in the last 3.5 years will work in his favor at the polls in November.
A few weeks after youth from Olu Senatorial Zone gathered to endorse and openly declare their support for the re-election bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma at the number 11 elections, the women from the area have also thrown their weight behind the governor's re-election bid. They've come out in large numbers to demonstrate that support. But first, the leaders from the zone give reasons why they are supporting the governor.
We cannot do without women. If you are in politics and you want to do without women, you are going to fail. Women are very important. Here we have one of us, a visionary leader, and somebody who has made sure that lives of female people are touched. He brought changes in infrastructure everywhere in Imo State.
Olu women, we've come together today to assure him that we are standing with him 100%.
And then the governor's wife takes time to commend the women for their decision to support the governor's re-election bid. She wants them to go all out in order to ensure victory.
By this time, by God's grace, on the 12th of November 2023, I will not celebrate.
When it was the turn of the governor to speak, he assures the residents that he will consolidate on the gains and achievements of his first tenure, especially in the areas of job creation, infrastructure, security, and women empowerment.
We are going to make use of the meager resources, which we consider as what we have. We will use it to get what we want. We will create opportunities for our children to be meaningfully engaged. We will create jobs. In the next 2 months, we are going to enroll 50,000 young men and women under Cohort 3 program. And 3 months after, they will graduate. And that is wealth creation. That is what we have come to do.
Gradually, the D-Day is getting nearer, and the political space in the state is getting more interesting. For the serving governor, he believes his performance in his first term in office is enough to earn him victory at the polls. However, all the candidates that will be taking part in the election are not leaving any stone unturned in their bid to convince the electorate to vote in their favor.
In part two, after the break, Channels Television's chief in-house data analyst Babajide Ogunsanwo joins us tonight to discuss the latest inflation figures. Please join us again. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Kogi State government alleges assassination attempt on Governor Yahaya Bello while on his way to Abuja for an official engagement. As the Supreme Court begins hearing the appeals of the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Labour Party and the Allied People's Movement on Monday, Channels Television takes a cursory look at some of the issues in these appeals. Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives in the United States, where he will be delivering the keynote address at the African Development Bank's World Food Prize, facilitated Norman E. Borlaug International Dialogue. And Iran's Foreign Affairs Minister warns Israel and the United States that the Middle East may spiral out of control if Israel does not immediately stop its military action. Let's head to the courts now. Appeal court in Abuja has nullified the election of the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Simon Nwankwo, who is representing Plateau North Senatorial District in the National Assembly. In a unanimous judgment, the three-member panel, led by Justice Daud Williams, held that the PDP did not validly nominate Senator Simon Nwankwo. The three-member panel held that it is in their view that court orders were not fully complied with by the PDP, as 12 local government areas did not participate in the party's Congress. The court also ordered a rerun for the Plateau North senatorial seat to be conducted in 90 days. The court cited non-compliance with a subsisting court order from the Plateau State High Court made since 2020 for the PDP to conduct Congress before nominations as a key factor in their decision. The panel at the appellate court, led by Justice Okon Abang, also nullified the victory of Honorable Musa Aga Avia of the People's Democratic Party representing Bassa North in the House of Representatives. And staying with election petition tribunals, the Supreme Court will tomorrow hear the appeals filed by the candidates of the PDP, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and the Allied People's Movement, APM, seeking to nullify the verdict of the Presidential Election Tribunal, which upheld the victory of President Tinubu on September the 6th. Ahead of the hearing of the court in the three appeals, we'll give you reports now, and we'll take a look at some of the issues before the court.
Having also found that no merit exists in all the above three consolidated petitions, I join my learned brothers Amani Jesse in dismissing all the three petitions and abiding by the consequential orders made in the lead judgment.
Dissatisfied with the verdict of the Presidential Election Court on September the 6th, the three appellates, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, Labour Party's Peter Obi, and the Allied People's Movement, filed the appeals urging the Supreme Court to nullify the victory of President Tinubu. In the 42-page notice of appeal filed by 18 senior advocates and 47 lawyers, the former vice president anchored his appeal on 35 grounds. Amongst other things, the PDP candidate held that the lower court erred in law when it refused to uphold as mandatory electronic transmission of results for confirmation and verification of final results as introduced by the Electoral Act 2022 for transparency and integrity of results. In another ground of appeal, the appellants argued that the lower court erred in law when it failed to determine their case with respect to the mandatory verifications and confirmations required before the announcement of the result of the presidential election. They also faulted the lower court for its interpretation of the use of the word and the FCT in relation to Section 134(2)(b) of the 1999 Constitution. The appellants also touched on the issue on the use of what it called disparaging words by the court against Mr. Atiku Abubakar and the PDP, which they termed as indication of bias and which violated the rights of fair hearing and occasioned grave miscarriage of justice. In the final analysis, Mr. Abubakar and his party urged the Supreme Court to set aside the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court to declare that President Tinubu is not the winner of the polls, was not even qualified to contest the polls, and to instead declare the PDP candidate as the winner of the polls, or in the alternative to order INEC to conduct a second election between him and President Tinubu. While this was pending before the court, Atiku Abubakar on October the 6th filed new documents seeking the Supreme Court's nod to present a deposition on oath of the registrar of the Chicago State University concerning President Tinubu's academic records. Mr. Abubakar is questioning the authenticity of the president's academic certificate submitted to INEC, alleging forgery of the document, and seeking that he be disqualified and removed from office. The Labour Party and its presidential candidate on their part filed a 73-page notice of appeal. The document, which was filed by 13 senior advocates and 25 other lawyers, was anchored on 51 grounds. Among other arguments, Mr. Obi and the Labour Party said the Presidential Election Petitions Court erred in law and reached a wrong conclusion when it dismissed the petition he lodged to challenge the outcome of the presidential election. He maintains that the lower court carried out a miscarriage of justice against him when it held that he did not specify polling units where irregularities occurred during the election. Mr. Obi also accused the panel of erring in law and striking out paragraphs of his petition, dismissing his witness as incompetent, a situation which he says breached his right to fair hearing. The APM, on its part, has insisted that President Tinubu contested the presidential election without a lawful running mate. The party said that the withdrawal of Ibrahim Masari and the expiry of the 14 days permissible for changing or withdrawing candidates under Section 33 of the Electoral Act 2022 made President Tinubu's election and return invalid. There's been lots of speculations as to the composition of the panel to hear the appeal, and all eyes are on the Supreme Court to do justice in the 3 appeals before it. The Minister of the FCT and former Governor of Rivers State, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has taken a swipe at the Director General of the Neighbor Graham Douglas Law School in Port Harcourt over the poor state of the institution. Mr. Wike made his feelings known while delivering the keynote address at the 2023 NBA Young Lawyers Forum 2023 Annual Summit, which was held at the Justice Mary Orderly Judicial Institute in Port Harcourt, Rivers State.
It's the 2023 Annual Summit of the Nigerian Bar Association Young Lawyers Forum at the Justice Mary Orderly Judicial Institute in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State's capital, and discussions are centered around breaking barriers and empowering future leaders in the judicial system. Present at the event is the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, retired Supreme Court Judge, Justice Mary Orderly, Chief Judge of Rivers State, Justice Simeon Amadi, and former NBA President Onueze Okocha, among others. While delivering the keynote address, the FCT minister expresses disappointment at the state of the law school in Port Harcourt.
I'm highly disappointed. Look at the money that was spent in that law school. Ordinary to cut the grasses, you cannot. Money was made available to you to make sure that you don't run back to federal government to say, look, we don't have money to run the activities of the school. We went ahead to even provide structures for you to rent out and make money to use it for the maintenance of that school. Go and pass that school now. You can't believe it. The point, I mean, ordinary law school, you can't take care of it. Now you are given a position as complicated as Nigeria. What can you do?
The state chief judge and former NBA president challenged the young lawyers on breaking barriers.
In the pursuit of justice and the rule of law, we must consistently strive to break down the barriers that impede progress. These barriers can be legal, social, or cultural, and they often stand between justice and injustice. It is in the hands of our young lawyers to challenge these barriers, to create pathways to equality, and to be the architects of a more just and inclusive society. Many of you here will sooner or later, obviously later, assume leadership roles not only in the Nigerian bar, but also in this country. And that is what your theme is actually driving at.
Next, the presentations from Justice Mary Odili.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, fora such as this are necessary. And as the keynote speaker pointed out, various areas, the maintenance culture, the culture to get things done, even if it is not assigned to you as a duty.
For the association, this year's theme is a reflection of its determination to address pressing challenges and explore effective resolutions to shape the future of the legal profession.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in the United States of America to participate in the African Development Bank World Food Prize to be held in Iowa. Mr. Shettima will deliver the keynote address at that event, facilitated by the Norman Borlaug International Dialogue. Vice President Shettima will use the platform to speak to potentialities and the endowment of Nigeria's agricultural sector. He will woo investors and push for commitments in achieving President Tinubu's mandates and programs for Nigeria's agro-food sector. Well, he will also hold meetings with manufacturers, investors, and top government officials in some U.S. states. He joins many other African leaders who have used the event to canvass support for agricultural development and food sufficiency in Africa. Earlier this week, the National Bureau of Statistics released the most recent Consumer Price Inflation Report. The Consumer Price Inflation Report provides statistics about how fast or even slow goods and services change in Nigeria. Babajide Ogunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data and information consultant, is here to share more insight about the rising cost of living, which is a very serious issue to many. Hello, Babajide. It's good to have you. First, I'm seeing a balloon. Is that for me or what's going on?
Yes, I think your birthday came early,
No,
but we'll get to this much later.
All right. So let's talk about the Bureau of Statistics. It's saying that inflation rate is currently at 26.7%. How significant is this for the common man and even for the government?
Now, for the common man and government, Anne, the significance can be looked at in three ways. And I'll explain each of these three ways. The first is the Bureau of Statistics says inflation year on year, which is the price of goods and services, average price of goods and services this year compared to last year has changed by 26.7%. Why is this number important, Anne? The last time inflation was as high as 26.7% was 12.5 years ago, Anne. That was back in August 2005. But inflation of August 2005 and Nigeria of 2005 is different from Nigeria of today. In August 2005, price of petrol was 65 naira per litre. Now, 600 naira per litre. In 2005, the economy was still growing at an average rate of 7%. Now, the economy is growing by only 2%. In 2005, you could go to the market and exchange your naira. 133 naira will get you $1 in 2005. Now, you need 1,100 naira to get you $1. So in summary terms, even though inflation was as high as 26.7% in 2005, this inflation rate bites differently. And a lot of Nigerians are calling this inflation rate a frustration rate. That is the first reason why this number is important. Now to the second reason. Even though the National Bureau of Statistics says inflation is at 26.7%, that is only one side of the story. Within this report, they allow us to know that we already have 5 states that inflation has crossed 30%. I'm talking about Lagos, Ondo, Rivers, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. And here's what I'm saying. For a lot of families, this red balloon represents what the average price of bread was last year. Based on the reports, this is how the price of bread has gone in the last 12 months. Based on the report from the National Bureau of Statistics, they say this was the price of commercial transportation this time last year. Based on the reports, they tell us this is how the price of commercial transportation has gone in the last 12 months. Based on the National Bureau of Statistics, they tell us this was the price that you pay to send your child to school this time last year. What has happened in the last 12 months, Anne? The price of education. So in summary, this isn't just an inflation rate for many Nigerians. For millions of households, this inflation rate represents a frustration rate.
Wow. And what goods or services are prices most volatile? When we talk about volatility, what are the facts that we have?
Let's take a look at the facts, Anne. Clearly, it allows us to know the way Nigerians are feeling in the rural area is different from the urban areas. Let's look at food, prices of food for families living in the rural areas. Based on the report, that has changed by 28%. For families living in urban areas, price of food has gone as high as 33%. Transportation in the last year in rural areas, on an average, 23%, 32% for families living in urban areas. Health, an average rate of change of 21% for families living in rural areas. For families living in urban areas, their health expenditure has grown by as much as 25%. And education, that key numbers. Both rural and urban areas, families are saying the price to send children to school has significantly gone up, even though their incomes are remaining stagnant.
Well, how much impact does the security situation in Nigeria have on domestic food production?
On that, there's some good news. Let's take a look at some of the polls. We're having good news, even coming from the leadership of the Defense Headquarters. If we take a look at what exactly is going on with farmers, were asked, do they feel safer going to the farms last year as compared to this year? In the Northeast, when the government came in, 43% of farmers said they felt safe going to the farm. We've seen security improving in the Northeast. 46% of farmers are saying they feel safe going to the farms. We've seen growth as well in the Northwest, improvements, feedback showing that security has improved on farm areas. North Central, we've seen security improvements as well. Southeast as well, we've seen a little bit of confidence from farmers going to the farms. Where the challenge right now lies is we see in the South, farmers are saying when the government came in, 56% of those surveyed said they were comfortable going to the farms. That has dropped a bit. And in the Southwest, the numbers are a bit the same. So that's some good news for the future, which means that farmers are feeling more comfortable to go to the farms right now compared to May 2023, some months ago. So we clearly see that, yes, security seems to have improved with respect to protection for farmers.
But we never leave this discussion without talking about a possible solution. So now that we have all of these in our hands, what can be done to at least reduce the pain families are going through? A lot of people are going through pains because of goods and services and inflation.
And before we talk about the solutions, we need to understand the problems. And I would like to spend just 1 minute to clearly explain the problem. 6 decades ago, when Nigeria gained independence, our population was 45 million. That of the United Kingdom, 52 million. And in the last 6 decades, Nigeria's population has grown by 386%. The population of the United Kingdom has grown by less than 30%. The population of the United States within the same period has grown by just about 80%. And in the last 6 decades, Nigeria's population has grown faster than that of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. In summary terms, Nigeria is the fertility capital of the world. People say we are not producing, and we are producing babies. The challenge is our production of babies is faster than our domestic production of food and essential goods and services. And so we have a high and rising demand, and our supply is slow, weak. And because demand has significantly outstripped our domestic capacity to produce, prices of the few scarce items keeps rising. And so we need to now start seriously thinking about giving families that have small sizes incentives, and families that have large sizes, we have to consider this incentive to have a large family. And so what has happened is, over the years, population has grown, and so persons living in poverty have significantly grown. What is in front of you are the 10 states that house Nigeria's poorest. And those numbers beside it are the rate of inflation. Top 7 states, 6 out of these 7 states are located in the north, 5 of these states are located in the northwest. So one solution is we now need, more than we've ever done, need to see the northwest governors collaborating together. We need to see the House of Assembly members in the northwest collaborating. And we need to see even collaboration among the local governments. So for the priority right now, northwest, because what is happening is a lot of Nigerians, because of the way inflation is going, they're already spending their future. And if you spend your future, what will you spend in future?
In future, right. Thank you very much. Babajide Ogunso, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst. Thank you for sharing your insights on this matter.
And the pleasure is all mine.
To other stories now, Christians must show up and reflect Christ in their everyday activity at work or business places by upholding the values Christ expects of them. This underlines the submission of various speakers at the Market Impact Conference series organized by Jesus World Changers Apostolic Mission. The conveners, Dr. Olubayode and Dr. Mrs. Deria Woshika, expressed concern over the seeming decline of these values at workplaces. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
That shout of victory heralds the 2023 Market Impact Conference Series 1, a platform courtesy Jesus World Changers Apostolic Mission, with the theme, Kingdom Lifestyle in Your Place of Assignments. The convener and senior pastor of Jesus World Changers Apostolic Church kicks off with a charge that gave rise to the movement.
The first answer as to how to make the kingdom come in a place of assignment is the combination of concern for the people and to be conscious of God concerning us. If God is not in it, that job you are hold so tightly and it's all about your life, if God is not there, you will not have it.
The lineup of speakers and topics for discussion suggests the direction of the program. First to speak is Mr. Cosmos Maduka, Chairman, Coscharis Group. He decries the surge in parental delinquency and the absence of character and integrity in today's society.
Character are rare. That's why a person with character does not live with what is popular. They live with what is principle. This is why it is difficult for most politicians to have character, because politics is based on popularity, which means you have to literally sacrifice your principle to protect your popularity, which cancels your character.
Next is a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and chairman, Titan Trust Bank, Tunde Lemon, who harps on managing financial matters in the marketplace.
I'm going to talk to you about a few scandals in the industry in which I belong, and then when you look around you and you see the people who are at the center of it, you begin to ask yourself, why not judging? Maybe things should have been done differently if indeed they stood on the side of integrity.
The Vice Chancellor of UNILAG, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, addresses issues bordering on Christian ethics, education, and administrative demands.
I would like to leave us with the words of the song. It was taught to me by my father. It says, when by others urged to tread a path you should not go, let them blame you if they will, but firmly answer no.
With the charges done, prayers are offered for the people and the nation.
Father, I would just want to say thank you. It's been a great day.
While everyone seems recharged for the assignments ahead, the conveners share their parting shots.
As you are taught in church and as you behave in church, go to the marketplace. The marketplace being your office, where you trade, where you live, whether you are a housewife, everything that God has assigned you to do it on Christian principles.
Nation building is everyone's responsibility, irrespective of religious affiliations. It, however, requires some level of intentionality. The hope is that every little seed sown here is remembered by history. Chris Alems, Channels Television News.
Motorists and travelers on the outbound section of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway were held in hours of gridlock on Sunday evening following multiple car accidents at the Kara axis of the highway. The accident, which involved a truck, an 18-seater interstate commercial bus and a Honda SUV, occurred after the truck suffered a brake failure, ramming into the commercial bus, according to eyewitnesses. At least 13 passengers traveling in the accidented vehicles reportedly sustained various degrees of injury. The accident scene has now been cleared by the traffic management officials. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have arrested one Sharif Ebo at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, while attempting to board an Air France flight to Paris after ingesting illicit drugs, which was identified after a body scan. According to the NDLEA, the scan revealed that he has swallowed 93 pellets of heroin weighing 2.2 kilograms. In the same vein, NDLEA operatives at the narco shed of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos seized a consignment of 500,000 pills of tramadol. The shipment was en route from India through Qatar Airways. Meanwhile, an attempt by an intending passenger, Ngene Oscar, to Oman was apprehended while trying to export 11.1 kilograms of skunk and 600 grams of tramadol concealed in foodstuff through the Lagos airport. Residents of Kegbara Dere, a community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State, where an oil spill has occurred on Friday, are now calling for a comprehensive action from the stakeholders in order to forestall a reoccurrence. The incident, which occurred on Friday, left an unquantifiable volume of crude spilling into the environment. A joint investigation is set to be conducted, or is set to have been conducted, and the spill contained by the operators.
Kegbara Dere, an agrarian community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State, has been relatively calm until Friday, October 20, when an underground pipe burst and began spilling crude oil.
This is terrible.
Although the pressure appeared mild, the residents say the effect of the spill is being felt across the community, forcing students to stay away from a nearby school and businesses to shut down. The situation is explained by this aged woman through an interpreter.
Gas overtake the whole Kegbara community. I thought that there was a Hamatan. I no con know say no be Hamatan. Before I know wetin dey happen, I no fit open my eyes again. As this morning is now, I get very serious pains where they inside my eye.
This case is one incident too many in the Ogoni area, where oil exploration began over 50 years ago, and Kegbara Dere is said to be the host to over 50 oil wells and flow stations, with some of them, like this one, wasting away. Residents say operators from Shell Petroleum Development Company have visited for a joint investigation and have made efforts to stop the flow.
As a host community, and things like this happen to our people. Even as I speak, some persons are in the hospital, some persons are even injured that their eyes, they cannot even open their eyes, and you see it's a problem. So for now, there's nothing I can say, but we are just trying to use this medium to ensure that this information get across to the federal government. If Shell refuses to understand or try to disobey the rules of engagement, then the Ogoni people, we don't have gun. We don't have such power. The only option to our protest is just to say no to injustice, and that is where we stand.
Nevertheless, the community is demanding a proper action by the company and other stakeholders to keep residents and the ecosystem safe from the volume of crude oil that has already spilled into the environment. Residents say they pray and hope that this spill will not add to the many cases that are still waiting for remediation.
It was all fun and excitement in Lagos with the best of football on display as the football fans gathered in large numbers to witness the Arise football novelty match at the Onikon Stadium in Lagos Island. Arise family defeated Arise community 5-4 on penalties, and that's after the game ended 2-2 in regulation time.
Arise family in blue and Arise community in yellow. That's the official ceremonial kickoff. Very powerful kick.
Arise football novelty match takes center stage at the Onikon Stadium in Lagos Island. There is excitement in the air as Team Blue and Team Yellow lock horns to the delight of the fans. The novelty football match is part of the Arise Walk for Life program put together by the convener, Dr. Shiju Iluyomade.
Football, we find out that it keeps you alive, it keeps you well, you run, you walk, your body is being exercised.
Former Super Eagles goalkeeper Peter Rafai commends the organizers for this initiative and agrees on the need to imbibe the culture of exercise and fitness.
The Arise Walk for Life has different segments, and the one of today happens to be the football segment of the Arise Walk for Life, where all communities around has come out to share and have fun and play together and be together, and that's a very good one.
More importantly, we are encouraging sports and sportsing to bring about preventive health care so that you can lay aside a lot of ailments by just engaging your body in motion, and that is why we are here today.
Team Blue, representing Arise family, fights back twice to draw level and eventually defeat Team Yellow, representing Arise community, 5-4 on penalties.
I want to say very big thanks to the organizer for this kind of opportunity they give us, and I'm very happy.
No doubt, participation in sports helps to overcome health problems and provides the platform to live a profitable life.
8 games were decided this evening in matchday 4 of the Nigeria Premier Football League, which recorded a total of 12 goals across the country. At the Pantami Township Stadium, Gombe United defeated Bendel Insurance 1-0, with Ahmed Jimo scoring the decisive goal at the 51st minute. Remo Stars edged Sports Lagos 2-1 in the Southwest Derby as Remo Stars Stadium in Ikenne in Ogun State. As for Lobby Stars, they extended their unbeaten streak in the league this season, following a 2-0 win against Abia Warriors. And the battle of former champions Kano Pillars edged out Rivers United at 1-0. 7-time champions Rangers were held to a 1-1 draw by Kwara United in Ilorin. A city within the desert is springing up, but unlike other cities of the world, humans and animals will exist within a clean and beneficial environment. Well, that is what the Neom city offers. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, reports from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
It will be unlike anything the world has seen before. A linear global community hosting human, animal, and plant life with zero carbon emissions, all in the northwest of Saudi Arabia.
Here is the module of the line, and it goes through 3 ecological regions that I talked about before. Here's the first region, the coastal region next to the Red Sea. And here you're going to see where the phases are going to be done. You may ask, when will the line completely be finished? Has not been announced when it's completely finished, but what has been announced is we'll start phases.
Designed by 11 architects of global repute, Neom has been established in 3 phases, including an underground marina, which will host the largest cruise ship in the world, the Wonder of the Seas.
Ships pass by and dock. They either dock here or they dock here.
A linear city with houses and amenities within 5 minutes of each other, and an ultra-modern train service that will ensure one is able to go from one length of the city to the other within 20 minutes.
In each neighborhood, you'll take a 5-minute walk to all your personal needs in your daily life, like school, work, a grocery store. Anything can be achieved in only 5 minutes of walking. Now, without cars, you may ask, how do people get from end to end in 170 kilometers in length? There will be a hyperspeed train called the Spine that takes you from end to end within only 20 minutes.
There is no word on when the city will be completed, but work is in progress to complete the first phase by 2030. When completed, it will host living quarters, schools, universities, businesses, culture, and everything humanly needed for communal living, while not leaving out the mountains and natural flora and fauna. There will even be artificial snow on the mountains just in time for Saudi Arabia to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games in Jeddah, a city within Neom, which should be ready by then. From Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, Amarachi Ubani for Channels Television News.
Iran's foreign minister has warned that the war in the Middle East may spiral out of control if Israel does not immediately stop its military action. This comes as Israel's defense forces vow to intensify airstrikes on Gaza, warning Palestinians still in the north of the territory to flee to the south. And the main news again. There's been a confusion on the alleged assassination attempt on Governor Yahya Bello of Kogi State. A statement from the State Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Fanwo, earlier said that the governor's convoy was attacked by gunmen in military uniform in the nation's capital. But in a complete U-turn, the state governor told newsmen this evening that there was no attempt on him. He said it was only a misunderstanding between his aides and the men dressed in military uniforms. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a lovely week ahead. Good night.